I'm proud to say today we finally closed escrow and officially a proud new owner of my first multi-family investment property. This has been one hell of a journey so far, and we're just getting started. Best part is no money out of pocket, no credit check, no bank loan, no credentials check, with the 4% interest rate at that. Ask me how. Welcome, everybody. That's the post that I made into the community. And ever since making that post, I've been getting a lot of love and support. And I appreciate everyone that's reached out. With that being said, my inbox has been getting flooded, to say the least, with everybody asking me how, obviously. And with that being said, instead of responding to every single message individually, I thought, why not just make a video and explain how we got the deal from start to finish, all the trials and tribulations that we faced in this deal, and just give you a whole breakdown on how we did it. It just seemed like an easier way to get across that message. So again, I appreciate all the support from the community. Now, a lot of people were asking how my partner Ash and I came across this deal. I'm going to create an entire series on how to get started in real estate step by step. And this is going to be an entire breakdown on how to generate leads, how to get a VA on your team, how to start pulling lists, what lists to pull. I'm going to give you the entire breakdown, and I'm going to be uploading it to this channel. So stay tuned for that. And now let's jump into the deal. So, although a huge success story for myself and my partner, but I'm going to give you the real. Some people make real estate seem like it's easier than what it really is. But the truth of the matter is, it's not. It's tough. It requires a lot of time, it requires a lot of effort, discipline, and you need to have a mindset shift. It's not all rainbows, flowers, and unicorns. You could watch all the YouTube videos you want. You can join the Subto community and watch all the PACE method videos and go through the vault. But the fact of the matter is, you really got to put in the work. You got to start taking action. Myself personally, I'm an engineer by trade. I went to school for 4 years to become an engineer. And to tell you the truth, I learned more on the job than I did from schooling. I had to go out and make mistakes, go out and break things and figure out why I broke them. This is the same method that's going to apply to real estate. You got to go out there and just be wrong 90% of the time. Get on these phone calls and just, who cares? You might screw up, you might mess up, but you're going to learn from that process. The main goal here is just start taking action. Who cares? Stop, like, I know, to be honest with you, I was nervous when I was jumping on calls, and I still am, but I just did it. I jumped on calls, and just instead of overthinking things, I just had conversations with people. And that's the key to this thing. Just get better each time and figure it out. So with that being said, how do we get this deal and how do we start? So I'm going to walk you through the process. The first thing you got to do is you got to get a campaign. What's a campaign? A campaign is basically getting a software similar to PropStream or Batch Leads. It doesn't matter which one you choose, but you got to start pulling lists from somewhere. So PropStream is the one that we personally chose, and we started pulling our lists. Now, you're going to need a dialer of some sort. You can use Google Voice if you don't want to spend much money. We personally went with Call Tools. And basically, with Call Tools, you can dial out to 5 numbers at the same time. And after we got Call Tools, we hired on a VA. And the VA actually was a blessing in disguise because she reached out to us personally. She reached out to us on my Facebook Messenger, and she showed her experience on calls that she's made. And to be honest with you guys, I actually thought it was a scam at first, but I just went with it, and I decided let's just give this thing a shot. And it turns out she's been excellent. She's been a great addition to my team. I didn't have to train her much. She already had 4 years experience, and it's been great so far. So we pulled our list from PropStream, and we skip traced our list. Skip tracing basically just means that you're going to get the number for that list that you pull for each property. Now, the list that we got this property specifically on was a low equity list. So obviously with a low equity list, listing it with a real estate agent is not going to be your best option, because more than likely you're going to have to come out of pocket to sell that property. And that was the case here. So, my VA pulled this list. She generated leads and pushed it over to our CRM, which is we use Podio. We still use Podio. It's a great software to use, and it's free. So she generated these leads and she pushed them over. And then when I would get home, I would personally call these leads myself. Now, this lead in particular was a gentleman that lived in Dallas, Texas, and he moved to Oklahoma. And once he moved, he was dealing with this multifamily unit out of state. Now, obviously, if you're not really an investor, this is not really what you do. You're going to have a tough time out here. So he just got tired of the headache. He didn't want to deal with it anymore. So he wanted to sell the property. Now, he listed the property with the real estate agent, and the agent basically told him he was going to come out of pocket 30 grand to sell his property. Now, obviously, that wasn't an ideal situation. So his next option was to sell for a cash buyer. Now, we all know cash buyers are more than likely going to be investors. And most investors, to make sense out of the deal, they have to come a lot lower than what their asking price is. And in this case, it was about 50 to 60 grand lower than what he was actually looking for and actually what he owed on the mortgage. That's obviously not an ideal situation. So he didn't think he had any other options until I got on the phone call with him. Now, after we ran through all these options with him, we realized that subject to was the best transaction choice for him and myself as well. And that's the option that we presented to him. Now, he was completely unaware of how that subject to transaction worked. And we basically broke it down to him and we simplified it. And he obviously had his objections. Now, he's a veteran, so he had entitlement. Now, what does entitlement means? Entitlement means basically he got this property with a VA loan, which gives him a low interest rate. Now, he moved to Oklahoma and he wants to use his VA loan again. So in order to do that, we have to do market research and check in Oklahoma what his entitlement really is left that he has after he spent the money on the property. Now, we went through all that objection with him. I had a great help from Michael in the community. He kind of explained everything to me. He made a video on it, and it really helped me out tremendously on how to overcome that objection. And his next objection was, how do I know you guys are going to make the payments on time each month? Now, we explained to him how we use a loan servicing company, a third party. It automatically pulls the money each month out of my account and makes payments on our behalf. And it will automatically send you an email and myself each month. And they make the payment 5 to 7 days prior to the due date. And that way you'll be notified every single month that the payment has been made. So once he saw that, he felt more comfortable with the transaction, and we were able to get on agreement and present a contract to him. Now, once we presented the contract to him, he signed. And then your next step, what you're going to do is you're going to hire on a TC, a transaction coordinator. Now, the transaction coordinator is going to make sure they get that contract and they bring it to escrow. Now, escrow and title company is going to open escrow and you're going to start the process. Now, this whole process with escrow was completely smooth, the whole transaction up until the last couple days. And I'm going to walk you through that right now. Before I start telling you about the troubles that we ran into, I'm going to tell you about the LLC troubles that we ran into. So first of all, I opened up a holding company, as you should. And then after that, I opened up an LLC. This LLC was timed perfectly. It was supposed to, get approved before this transaction went through. But unfortunately, we ran into issues. The LLC was approved. PCS did all my work for me. LLC was approved. But then once they went to file for the EIN, which is basically your social security number for an LLC, that was denied. It said that there was a similar company with the same exact name that had, this EIN tied to it, and they didn't want to approve the name. So after that, we had to file an amendment, and I was told this amendment was only going to take 7 days. We'll come to find out it actually took a little over a month, and it was a big headache. I ran into a lot of problems with that. And because of this, I had to think on the fly a real quick LLC that I can come up with in the meantime, because I knew that LLC wasn't going to get approved before the transaction was complete, because we set escrow for 30 days. So I went ahead and made that new LLC. I got approved and we were good to go. Now, I'll tell you guys another issue that my partner made, a mistake that he made. So my partner, he created his subsidiary LLC before he made his holding company. And I didn't know this at the time. And then when I finally realized this, when we were going to do the paperwork, I told him, Ash, what are you doing, man? You got to make your holding company. That's the first thing you got to make, because your holding company is what's going to own your LLC. And he was unaware of that. He was still learning. We're both learning. And, he luckily he was able to clear that up and get that all resolved before closing. Now, we went 30 days. We set our closing date for 30 days. We sent our earnest money in. Earnest money is basically just a good faith. It's basically a security deposit on the transaction. And then we were all smooth sailing. So my plan was to fly out to Dallas, Texas, the day of closing, and just be happy and all, balloons and parades and everything. But it didn't work out that way. Like I said, you're going to run into problems. And this is the stuff that a lot of people don't talk about. A lot of people paint their success and it's great. And I know a lot of people do have success, but some people don't talk about the real, and they don't tell about all the problems and issues that you could run into along the way. So that's my goal here today, is to kind of tell you these problems, so that way you can overcome them and not go through the same mistakes I did. This was a good learning experience for us. So once we hit, close to our 30 days, literally as I'm boarding my flight, I get a phone call from the city inspector. Now, the city inspector saying, Joseph, where are you? And I'm saying, I'm getting ready to board a plane. What? And she says, you were supposed to meet me here at the property at 10 a.m. I said, what property are we talking about? And she said, she gave me the address of the property, because I honestly didn't know. I wasn't expecting this phone call. I never made an appointment with the city inspector. After we had about a 15-minute conversation, I came to find out that the property management company that was existing on this property gave her my phone number and set a meeting on my behalf. Now, I was totally unaware of this. I was caught off guard, and city inspector came down hard on me. She said, technically I can shut your property down right now. And I'm not going to lie, that scared the hell out of me. So I told her I was getting ready to catch a flight, and I was getting ready to head out there, just to give me till tomorrow. She could still meet me. That would be great. And luckily she said, yes, meet me here tomorrow and don't be late, same time. Great. Awesome. So I'm getting ready to get on my flight. We take off, and I got I got T-Mobile. So luckily I'm able to get the free Wi-Fi on the plane. So I'm going through my emails, I'm going through my messages, and then I get a message from my transaction coordinator, Amanda, reaching out saying we have an issue with escrow. Now my heart stopped, because I'm getting ready to, land in Dallas and close and celebrate. And now this whole process has been, smooth. And now we run into this problem. And now I'm like, oh, great. Now what? So apparently the title company, sending emails, once they saw our LLCs, they had an issue with that. And they said it has to state our company name and the person signing and their position in the LLC, or the courthouse won't record the documents. So in other words, they wanted to put my full name, my partner's full name on the deed. And anybody that knows anything knows that that's not what you want to do. The whole point of creating a holding company and an LLC is so you can have amenity. You basically don't want anybody having access to your name or looking you up on public documents. So I questioned that. I said, what do you mean? Like this, a lot of people do deals like this. I don't understand. Now she's saying basically that that's the way they do things at their title company. And it completely caught me off guard. And now I'm panicked. So, obviously you can imagine what kind of panicnism that you're going through there. So luckily, we're surrounded by great people in the Subto community. I was able to reach out to a friend of mine, Jonathan Newsom. Some of you might know him. And he basically explained everything. And, Jonathan's doing deals all the time in Dallas. and he's not putting his name on any of these titles, so he kind of basically ran through all the options that I had, and he said, hey, you know what, just go ahead and transfer it to my title company that I use. I was kind of worried about doing that because I said, if I transfer it to your title company, this is going to, delay the process. And now I'm going to have to wait another 30 days. He goes, no, they'll have you closed by next week. But obviously I'm heading out to Dallas. I want to close the day I get there. So I started, looking through other options that I can do. Now, we'll get to that later. So the next morning, we meet with the city inspector, and she's just drilling me with code violations, one after another. And she gave me 30 days to kind of basically correct all these code violations. Now, again, nobody really talks about these things, but I was unaware that a city inspector has a yearly annual inspection and they can write you up for all these code violations. As we went through each unit, she was writing the simplest things, like holes in the door, weather stripping around the door. One of the water heaters wasn't, heating up the water properly. So it was lukewarm. It wasn't really hot. And she was just going through this list. And then at the end, she's telling me, hey, the curb needs to be fixed and the street needs to be fixed. And I'm telling her, hold on, like, if you guys do this thing annually once a year, why, this street didn't take, it didn't get messed up in a year. So why am I getting hit with this? Well, she tells me, I'm the new city inspector here. I'm not sure what the last city inspector did, but these are the rules and this is how I do business. Now, great. I get my first transaction on a multifamily unit, and now here I am running into all these type of problems on day one of getting the property. So obviously we had to fix these code violations, and that's another story. So the next day we had scheduled an investor meetup out there in Dallas. We're trying to make more connections out there in Dallas, meet new people, build a strong foundation in our market. So we went to an investor meetup, and it's a group called Doing DFW Deals. Great community, by the way. And right when we walked through the door, we met an awesome dude named Don Rich. And Don Rich ended up being the owner of the title company. And at the company that we were meeting at, they're called Community National Title. And when we had this meetup, we were kind of explaining to Don, the issue that we're running into since he's an owner of a title company. And Don was basically telling us, like, dude, what kind of title company is this that you guys are dealing with? I've never heard of this. So I'm like, yeah, man, this is the situation we got. They're trying to put our full name on title. And he says, no. He says, go ahead and transfer it over to our company and we'll take care of you. So I was getting ready to do this. We just went ahead and did our meetup. We learned a lot in that meetup. That was a great beneficial meetup. Towards the end, he came up to me again and he said, hey, look, man, I just want to make sure that I understand this completely. Explain to me again what your issue is so I can help resolve it. And I basically ran through it. I told him everything that we were going through. And he said, look, man, I'd love to have your business. This is how real Don is. Don said, I would love to have your business. I would love to have you transferred over to our title company, but this is an easy fix. Just go ahead and get this. You already went through this process of going through the title company, waiting 30 days. Just close this thing out, man. It's a simple fix. I said, well, what's the simple fix? He goes, all you have to do is get a signing resolution contract. And this signing resolution contract is going to allow somebody to sign on behalf of you and your company. And once they do that, you're good to go. So I said, okay, well, where do I get this signing resolution contract? I've never even seen this. He goes, dude, let me show you how easy this is. He pulls up his phone. He goes on Chat GPT and writes out this whole message on how he needs some signing resolution and he has a business and whatnot. And boom, 1 minute later, this thing spits out a whole contract. And I basically, I got that contract and I presented it to my transaction coordinator. My transactions coordinator said this should work. She sent it over to title company. Title company said, we've never seen a contract like this before. So after that, she goes, I'm going to have my underwriter look at this and approve it. So luckily, the underwriters were able to look it over and it got approved. We had our designator sign on our behalf. We wired the closing funds and we were finally able to close. It was a blessing. We went through all these issues and hurdles, and I'm not gonna lie. At one point, I almost felt like just saying, "Screw this deal," giving up. But that's why a lot of people aren't successful in this business, because they run into problems and they say this is too hard. And I know I'm not built like that. My partner's not built like that. We realize that these are issues that you're gonna face. This is one deal that we're running into these problems, and guess what? We learn how to overcome those problems. Next time we have a problem like this, it's going to be easy to overcome this. So that's why I wanted to explain on this, and so you guys can learn. If you ever run into these type of problems, don't put up with that. Get a signing resolution, have somebody sign on behalf of your company, and you don't have to ever put your name on any title, and have completely confidentiality. So with that being said, now we're being cautious on choosing the right insurance. Homeowners insurance, you got to make sure you choose the right one. Make sure one that's familiar with doing sub 2 transactions, because last thing you want to do is trigger the due on sale clause, and it happens all the time. So there's a company that my transaction coordinator Amanda referred to us, and the company's name is Steadily, and apparently they are the sub 2 insurance. They do sub two insurance deals all the time. And so if you want their contact, feel free to reach out to me and I will give you their phone number. So with that being said, now we're basically doing our exit strategy. We got the property. Now what do we do with the property? So there's already 4 tenants in place. All tenants are well, actually one tenant, the first unit is on a month to month. The rest are on a lease agreement. So obviously we have to honor that lease agreement, and we're gonna move from there. But basically, our goal here is to turn this property and generate good income. And right now, it makes pretty decent income. We're profiting about $500 a month, but we did the market research. We saw what the potential it has, and if we renovate this property completely, full renovations, we can profit $1,800 a month after the mortgage and the PITI is completely paid off. So obviously that's the goal. So that's something we're working on. Another option we explored, since this is a VA loan. We said, hey, why not look up a HUD VASH program? And basically what a VASH program is basically almost like a Section 8, but for veterans. And I said, what not be a better story than to bring in, veterans that need help on a property that an existing veteran owned. It's just a great story, and I thought that might be a great option. So it's something that we're looking into later on. But that's basically the story. That's how we, overcame all these objections, all these trials and tribulations, and how we got the deal closed. So like I said, I'm going to be creating a step-on-step process on how to get started in real estate. So look out for that. And also, I have a podcast. Now, this podcast is not your typical podcast. It is just starting out, but what this podcast is not a normal, hey, how's your day going? And how did you get started in real estate? Each topic that I cover, each guest that I bring on is going to cover a specific topic. And I want all my listeners and all my viewers to learn something from each topic discussed. And that's something that I will be bringing to this platform as well. My podcast is called the Real Estate Unlock Podcast. I already have 2 episodes and I got 2 awesome guests lined up. So be tuned for that. And follow me on Instagram. My Instagram tag is at Joseph Marone, and I'll go ahead and link that in the bio. And just stay tuned. This is something that we're looking to keep doing. My partner and I are just, we got the first deal. Now let's get 10 more. I want to at least have 3 more by the end of the year, and we're going to do it. So stay tuned with us. And that's how you take action, guys. Thank you for your time.